The battle for Android dominance continues in 2013. How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron Baker from Phone Dog, and in my hands I've got the HTC One, the hottest Android smartphone on the market, at least for today, and maybe replaced soon by the Galaxy S4. We'll find out when it comes in. But right now, the HTC One is a gorgeous, gorgeous phone. It's made out of metal and glass. One of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful phone I've ever had my hands on. Everybody loves metal. Everybody loves glass. It feels great in the hand, and it's packing some great specs like a 1.7 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 600 CPU, a 1080p HD display, and a camera that's utilizing a new ultra-pixel theme. Is it the best Android phone out there right now, and can it compete later in the year with all these hot phones that are rumored or getting ready to launch, things like the Galaxy S4, LG's Optimus G Pro, and more? We'll find out in the full video review of the HTC One, which starts right now. Guys, I gotta be straight up with you. If this was an award for design, the HTC One would be the best Android phone of 2013, if not ever. The HTC One is gorgeous. I mean, this phone, I can't get over how beautiful it is. I keep trying to find excuses just to pick up this phone because from a build quality standpoint, it's the most beautiful Android phone, if not the most beautiful phone, period, ever created. I love the metal feel, and what I like about this is it brings the element of the Droid DNA over to the One, and the fact it's got a curved back, so when you put it in your hand, it's very easy to hold. It's a 4.7-inch display, so for a lot of people that are finding the Note 2 size to be a little bit too large, or the Galaxy S4's 5-inch display to be a little bit too large, this is going to be a great alternative. And even though it's kind of funny to say 4.7 inches is, you know, the normal size, I really see 4.7 being kind of a nice sweet spot for some people that are kind of turned off by the fact that the Note 2 is too big, or the Galaxy S4 is too big, or even the Droid DNA is a little bit too big. This thing is packed, not just from a design standpoint, but it's packed to the gills with some incredible specifications. Now, let's get the brass tacks out of the way here. It's coming to AT&T, Sprint, and T-Mobile a little bit later in the quarter, maybe early quarter two, for I'm assuming $199. They haven't actually announced pricing, but it's going to be available in a 32 and 64 gigabyte variant. Again, keep in mind carriers, that's determined by carrier availability. So for example, AT&T may not carry the 64 gigabyte version, but at least internationally there's a 32 and a 64 gigabyte version in silver and black as well. And the silver is absolutely gorgeous. They're both equally beautiful. I actually saw the black one for the first time at Mobile World Congress. I've known about this phone for a while, but I knew I saw the black one at Mobile World Congress. Both are absolutely gorgeous. This thing is packed to the gills with some great specs, though. It's got a 1.7 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 600 CPU. I almost said S4, but that is not right. Snapdragon 600 CPU, a 4.7-inch 1080p HD display. It's got a 4 ultra-pixel camera. We'll talk more about that a little bit later in this video and in part 2, because you can't hold the traditional megapixel designation to this camera because it's a lot different. And even with 4 ultra-pixels, it's equally beautiful, and it features things like HTC Zoe, which gives you the ability, and I'll show you some shots that I did today as a sample in anticipation of this video, because it is pretty cool to watch how Zoe works and putting these customized videos on the internet. 2,300 milliamp hour battery. This one does not have LTE capabilities in the States, so I'm running an AT&T SIM card in it right now as part of my 30-day challenge, but you're seeing HSPA Plus, and it maxes out on AT&T at 21 megabits per second. 2,300 milliamp hour battery in this phone. It's non-removable, and then you've got Android 4.1 with HTC Sense version 5. Now, up top, you can see the power button. This is actually an IR blaster as well, so you can use it for that TV remote stuff we've seen from HTC's presentation, and hopefully a couple of times in my videos. It's a lot of fun. I will be the first to tell you it's a lot of fun when you're at work and there's a break room TV and you program the remote and you just for giggles turn it off and on or turn it to something else. I've had endless fun. I'll be going to like refill my cup of coffee and I'll be turning the TV channels, and the people that are watching TV during lunch are like, what's happening? The TV's messing up. I'm also 7 years old. Clearly. 3.5 millimeter headphone jack up top. Over here, your micro SIM card slot. Micro USB charging port at the bottom, volume rocker over here, but really just a gorgeous phone all around. I mean, absolutely beautiful. It's got a nice kind of weighty feel to it, but it's still very lightweight. I mean, you can tell it's substantial, and I love the fact that HTC thought, hey, why are speakers on the back of phones? Let's put them on the front of phones. And it's one of those things where you're like, why didn't they think about this sooner? I mean, just manufacturers in general. But you got a front-facing camera which boasts bigger viewing angles, so hopefully you can get more than just yourself in it. You can get a couple of friends thanks to the wider viewing angle, and you've got your speakers up here, boom sound, as HTC is calling it. Now, Android 4.1 on this device with HTC Sense version 5, and you'll notice immediately a new font. It's called Roboto, and that's what HTC is doing in HTC Sense version 5, and you're going to see some pretty substantial changes to HTC Sense. Now, I've always talked about HTC just being a little bit, or Sense rather, just being a little bit bloaty on top of Android. I feel like TouchWiz, the implementation of TouchWiz over Android and Motorola's UI over Android, they've done a great job of kind of preserving the feel of Android in terms of the speed. Up to about Sense 4, I thought, Sense 3.5 was a little bit bloaty. Even Sense 4 to me had too many animations and was a little bit bloaty, but they've really fixed it with Sense 5. I mean, this thing is fast all around, no lag whatsoever, and you can see how fast this phone is. I mean, little to no lag that I've found throughout my entire testing with this phone. Been very, very impressed all around. And you've got two buttons now. You've got back and you've got home. The HTC logo does nothing, but you can press and hold it, and it brings up your recent applications, or you can press and hold, and it brings up Google Now. So double tap for recent apps, press and hold for Google Now. So you got that, and then of course you got your home screens. Now out of the box, Blink Feed is going to load up, and Blink Feed is a new thing. It's kind of like Flipboard. It's an HTC service, and I happen to find it pretty useful, but if you don't want that, you can set your home screen to a traditional home screen, so you don't have to worry about seeing it when you turn on. Now, you can't get rid of it, so it's always going to be there when you scroll to the left, but you can add a maximum of 4 more screens to total 5 home screens in essence. And you can obviously pinch down, or press and hold rather, and see your 5 home screens up here, and then move out. So incredibly fast all around. Been so impressed with the performance of this phone. Now out of the box, obviously, I'm using this as part of my 30-day challenge. I'm trying to get that light out so you can really take a look at the device here. A little bit different in the menu as well. When you open up the menu, you'll see obviously the icons are different as a result of Sense 5. The font's a little different, and the clock stays in the menu area. So you got your clock here with Blink Feed. You got the clock widget, which I have here. And so you've got kind of a combination. You've got Blink Feed here, and then you can add widgets as you see fit. So the widget's not much different from what you remember from HTC Sense version 4. But you can see some of the widgets that have been pared back. It's just, HTC, when I talk to them about it, they talk about a more streamlined experience in HTC Sense 5. It's kind of like they realized there was a lot of bloat, and I'm paraphrasing here, this is not what they said, but I'm thinking to myself, they're like, you know what, there's a lot of bloat in Sense 4, let's go ahead and pare out some of these things and really focus on what the consumer, or what we believe the consumer wants. And to that end, they've done a really good job with kind of paring back some of the widgets and kind of creating what consumers want, or what they think consumers want. So a few less widgets, but you do have some great ones in here. I love HTC's widgets. I can come through here and see apps and shortcuts, and then I can scroll through, and let's say, one of my favorite widgets is, bookmarks. I can bring bookmarks over here and throw it over onto this screen, and there it is. So I've got my mobile bookmarks as I see fit. So it's quick and easy to do. Again, 4 home screens that are really empty. One is taken up by Blink Feed. So regardless of whether you want to use it, it is there. I find it again to be very useful, and you can customize the feed as you see fit. So I can come in here and say, topics and services. I can customize the home screen. So I want Huffington Post. Maybe I want AOL, and let's say CNET. Let's say The Verge. We'll go ahead and throw The Verge in there as well. In categories, I've got all my different categories. I really like business. I really like lifestyle. I really like politics. I can go ahead and throw these in. And then my Blink Feed will be updated with a combination of Twitter, Facebook, and then that as well. And of course, I can post from Blink Feed. So I can post to Facebook or post to Twitter. And then just click right there, and it'll automatically bring up the prompt from Twitter. That's my personal account at Aaron C. Baker. But you can see, very quick, very easy to use. And again, just keep in mind, little to no lag all around on this device. So impressed there. Another thing I'm really impressed with, and I'm going to kind of jump around here, the keyboard on HTC Sense 5 has been dramatically improved. I was a big fan of Sense 4 Plus, as I talked about on the One X and the Droid DNA. This one is even better, and I'll bring it in so you can take a closer look, but just really from a spell correction standpoint, I've been really impressed with this. And pardon me while I pull it away so my personal text messages don't show, but I want to bring over text messages so you can take a look here and see, how are you doing? The biggest issue I'm having is the English key right here. I am oftentimes switching it to French and being like, why is it auto-correcting my words into French? That's the biggest issue I have, but that's not an issue really at all. But I've been really impressed with the keyboard. In landscape mode, it looks nice. You've got a 4.7-inch display to work with, and it's dramatically improved over previous versions of the Sense keyboard. It got better with Sense 4 Plus. It's even better this time around in Sense 5. So if you're somebody like me that emails on a regular basis from your phone, you type on a regular basis from your phone, this is going to be a great option to consider. Really, really impressed all around there. So on that note, let's take a look at phonedog.com in the browser. Google Chrome is what I'm loading up right now. And actually, you know what? Instead of doing that, let's go ahead and go into the internet so we can take a look at the HTC browser. I know that's what you really want to see. And you can see kind of a typical setup here. You've got menu, kind of actually like a Chrome setup with your back and forward buttons and menu. And then, of course, you've got your tabs up here as well. So I can open up a new tab to see fit and move back and forth. So animations continue to be preserved in the latest build, and pinch to zoom, incredibly responsive. This device is fast all around, and I can't underscore how fast it actually is. So very impressed there. And then last but not least, before we cut for part 2, I'm going to show you some music here and I'll load this up and I'll turn it on full volume so you can really get an effect of how loud these speakers are. And we'll talk about this more in part 2, but I just can't get over, this thing is really a boombox, if people still say boombox. I don't know if they do, but if they do, it's still a boombox within itself. You really don't need external speakers. It's incredible. I mean, I don't know how it's conveying across on the camera, but that's actually so loud I almost want to turn it down. And coming from somebody who is almost deaf like myself, that's really, really loud. Anybody will tell you, my significant other will tell you, I'm pretty deaf. But just incredible performance on the speakers. Very impressed all around there. So stay tuned for part 2. We'll talk a little bit about battery life. I've been using this as my personal phone for a couple of days now. We'll talk about battery life. We'll talk about the camera. That'll be the focus in part 2 as well. And of course, some speed tests. You're going to want to stay tuned for part 2 of the full video review.